to expect. And then our special guest from Salesforce is Kelly, who is going to be talking about the Salesforce Insurance Vertical Roadmap. And then after that is when we're going to dive into discussion and open up the floor for questions. And at the very end, we're going to have some swag giveaways as well. So let's kick off with some introductions. We'll start with Danielle.
It would help if I actually talked not on mute. Sorry about that. I'm so excited to be here. Yay! We're reviving this group, and I'm welcome to all who are here. I'm excited for y'all to be here. If you have to jump off at any certain point in time, we are going to be recording this and posting it out to the community later. So if there's other coworkers or things as well, please make sure that you share this out later. So I'm Danielle Laffey. I am Principal of Insurance Solutions at Silverline. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 15 years, got some certifications around me. But really, I started the community group in 2008. I was an accidental admin, ended up starting the user group just to learn about Salesforce in general, because I knew literally nothing of it at all, and have been there up until a couple months ago when Alexis and I actually were partnered together, as she was one of my clients, and we decided let's revive this group, which I'm super excited about. And I am also on the planning committee for Florida Dreamin', so I've been very actively involved in the community in general. Overall, I'm just really excited about being able to deliver some of my experience that I've had with my clients and even previous life prior to Salesforce. I've delivered over 30 large CRM, and complex business transformation things. I've worked in, particularly for this group, some different sub-verticals around property casualty. I've worked with life, I've worked with health insurance. So I kind of come from a little bit of all different backgrounds, and really have been working cross-cloud. I do a lot of sales, service, marketing cloud, a little bit of Pardot in the past as well, and just really bringing that 360-degree view of the customer. So I'm excited to bring that experience to this particular group. And the reason that I'm so excited about this is because community groups just really rock. They're awesome. I owe my entire career to them, to be honest. They are the reason that I've learned Salesforce so easily. They are the reason that I'm very well connected in the organizations that I'm connected in. I've got promotions. I've got lifelong friends from them. And I'm just really excited to see where this goes. So yes, welcome to all, and I'm excited to meet you.
All right, and so my name is Alexis Kuhn. As Danielle shared, I am actually a client of Silverline's. MedPro Group partnered with them about a year ago, and so I am not a Salesforce expert like Danielle, but I am absolutely a Salesforce advocate.
You should call also again.
If you guys could just make sure that you're on mute, that would be wonderful.
So our MedPro Group is a medical malpractice insurance company, and we purchased Salesforce a couple of years ago, and we're really excited about the future. We have Financial Services Cloud and Customer Community and Partner Community. We have not yet rolled it out. Our current program is a $50 million initiative to replace our entire IT platform here at MedPro Group. And so Salesforce is a major piece of that, and we're really excited to leverage that and all that's to come. So in addition to that, we've been working with our partners at Salesforce. We've been involved in a few beta projects and pilots along the way. So it's really exciting to be on the front line as far as what's to come for the insurance industry. My specialty is in project management. I'm a certified project management professional and Scrum Master. I am excited for this group for collaborating on best practices and new ideas. So we know a lot of you are already using Salesforce in some really incredible ways. So I know on behalf of our entire company here at MedPro Group, we are all excited to hear what other customers are doing and best practices, and to learn from one another, in addition to how we can leverage Salesforce for some very strategic business solutions, right? Not just on the here and now, but what's the 5-year roadmap look like for our company, and how is Salesforce a part of that? So while Danielle's going to talk we'll talk about this in a little bit, but while this is meant to be a group for a variety of individuals, not just Salesforce administrators and technical people, but also business leaders. So as I dive into the charter, speak to that a little bit more, our goal for this group is to share ideas, lessons learned on projects, and best practices with each other. So as you all know, the amazing thing about Salesforce is that while many of us use the same product, it's all implemented in different ways, and there are different ways we can use it. So we want to bring that to the table and talk about how we're leveraging that and what we're learning. We want to strategize on solutions together about some common challenges that we're all facing, discuss some industry-leading initiatives that are coming forth, and just in general provide a forum for us to meet and talk. So it's meant to foster community, and this is not led by Salesforce. So we will have Salesforce guests come in, but the beauty of community groups is that it's led by customers. And so we're really excited to be a part of this with all of you and help facilitate conversation. This is not meant, you know, part of the challenge with this being a virtual group is that it could turn into a webinar very quickly, and that's not what the intention is. We want to present some ideas and then have great conversation. So as we're talking, we encourage everyone, if you're comfortable, turn on your webcam and let's try and get to help build that community as much as we can in a virtual environment. So our audience, we are open so the focus is on insurance customers of Salesforce, and while anyone may join, our focus is on those who are helping to facilitate and run Salesforce on a day-to-day business, on a day-to-day basis, as well as our business executives and leaders. So what we don't want to focus on is necessarily, this is not a solutions group for, Danielle, help me with this. It's not meant to be a trial and error. Hey, I'm running into this error in Salesforce and I don't know how to fix it. We want to talk about that through chatter and through other things offline. This is meant to more help focus on ideas. Danielle, do you want to add into that a little bit more?
Yep. So this group is being a little bit revitalized from before. I think that it had started a couple of years ago and kind of died out. And a lot of the feedback that we got around it was that it was a support group for admins. Hey, how do I technically solve this this code issue that I'm having? And we really lost the community around what we are looking to accomplish, how you're innovating, moving forward with things. We are absolutely here to help put you in the right direction of support. We obviously want to support you in any way that we possibly can, and taking that online, or even potentially doing, if the group wants office hours or something like that where we might be able to help, that's absolutely something that we can facilitate. But when we're trying to go through some of these really large meetings, that's kind of we're trying to be a little bit more innovative and making sure that everyone is collaborating and giving particular ideas on how they're innovating with their companies.
Great, thank you, Danielle. And so just a few logistics too. At the end of the meeting or later today or tomorrow, we will be sending out the slide deck. And also here in the slide deck, you can click on this link if you'd like to view the full charter. So as Danielle said earlier, we really encourage you to share this with others who are interested in collaborating with ideas as far as what's going on in the Salesforce insurance vertical. We're really excited to bring great minds together.
Awesome. So I'm chartered with what to expect. If we want to go to the next slide really quick, I can kind of give you guys a little rundown on what we're looking to do here. We're looking to learn. We want to learn from each other. We want to learn all the bad things that you've done to make sure that we don't do them again, right? We want to know all the hiccups and road bumps that you've run into. We want to learn really cool things that you guys are doing. I have insurance companies who are using Alexa skill sets. Like, how cool is that? It doesn't get out there very often when you hear about these kind of innovative things. So let's learn from each other on this. We want to connect with each other. So not just through here and through chatter, but we're also going to be working with other events and try and be in person when we're at Dreamforce or we're World Tour, etc. So connecting with other people, again, it really catapulted my career. And I can't begin to explain how wonderful it is to be able to connect with some of the community members here. We want to have a little bit of fun, so make this fun. It's going to be fun and inviting, and we don't want you to feel like this is like a stuffy, FinServe, boring meeting. Like we want you guys to have fun. So being able to be together, whether that be on the online community, virtually, or when we get together in person. And then, as always, we give back a little bit. We have not figured out exactly how we're going to give back specifically in this community yet, but I guarantee that there's going to be some things to come, and we're excited for it. Next
I thought all FinServe meetings were fun. Okay.
So kind of just some rules of engagement here. Make sure that you're updating your Trailblazer community profiles. So there's two different profiles here. We've got our community profiles in the Success community. That is different from the Trailblazer community. We want to make sure that there aren't any blue faces out there. Put your picture out there. Put it out. Let us know who you are. Add your company. Add your title. Allow us to know who you are. You're going to get more out of it, and we'll be able to know who you are, understand who you are, see you out in different events later on down the road, and just let's make this an open community for all. Really speak up. Alexis, think
sorry.
That's
keep
okay.
Flipping.
So we want you to ask questions. We would love for you to be able to put your video cameras on. I'm sitting in my home office in Florida, and it's not. You don't have to be all fancy in order to put your video cameras on. We want you to post on Chatter. If people have questions, write them back, answer their questions. If you have questions, make sure you go out there. You hear a really cool thing that's happening, an article that's out there, we really want to make sure that Chatter group is kind of up and going and live. Tell us about the cool things that you're doing, and also help others. Again, that support mechanism where we're not trying to get online and have an online support, although if that is something that the group wants, that's what we're here to help with. So help others and tell us what you're doing. Attend these different events. So we're looking at quarterly virtual events at this point in time. We're looking at doing some networking events at some industry events similar to InsurTech, which is coming up here before too long. I'm sure a lot of the people in the industry are going to those types of things. Salesforce will be there. And so we would love to be able to get our people together as much as we possibly can at those types of events. And then meetups at Dreamforce and other Salesforce events like World Tours, Connect, etc. And then, again, feedback. This is only going to be as good as you guys help us make it be. So there's we just need to know what you want to hear about. Give us suggestions or ideas on how you want to engage with the group. If you decide that you need an office hours, we'll help you figure that out. If you have particular topics that you're looking at, if you're having issues within the business and you're trying to figure out how to re-innovate, give us that feedback so that we can make sure that we go get the right speakers like Kelly, who is awesome and willing to take time out of her day to come. We have access to those and can give them to you. You just have to tell us what those are. And then finally, I think if you want to go to the next slide really quick, I mentioned earlier the Success community and the Trailblazer community are two different communities. And in order to make sure that you're getting all of the appropriate emails, all of the appropriate invites, and information to make sure that we can continue this going forward and get supported by Salesforce, we really hope that you can join this particular community. It's essential that you join it. So please go to trailblazercommunitygroups.com, create a user login and password, and just join in the conversation. Okay, I think we are getting ready to be introducing Kelly here. So Kelly, we're so excited to have you. Kelly's a product leader who has developed and launched multiple products at Salesforce, including the FinServe Cloud, and I think most recently blockchain, which we are definitely going to have you back to talk about blockchain because I've heard some really cool use cases for that. In her spare time, it sounds like you are a big fitness enthusiast and you also like to travel. Awesome. Where do you travel? Where's the last place that you traveled that you love?
My husband and I are a huge fan of national parks. So I love our branding at Salesforce for that reason. But we love going to national parks. I would say some of my favorites are in Utah, but there's a lot of beautiful places to explore. So love being outside.
That is definitely something I need to get more involved in. So I'm going to have to hit you up later to find out what the top 3 national parks are.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, you're here to talk to us about the Financial Services Club for Insurance.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. I think I need to be made a presenter.
Yep, doing that right now.
And if that is hard to figure out, beautiful. That was so easy. We're all using so many different conferencing tools nowadays that sometimes it's a challenge to even remember how it is that you're supposed to share your screen, but that was so easy. But now I just clicked the wrong button. So as I'm getting into presenter mode here, I'll just share with you guys that I have a similar path that Danielle described. So before joining Salesforce, I was a Salesforce customer. I was in the insurance business. I lived in Hartford, Connecticut, which used to actually be the capital, the insurance capital of the world. I don't think that's the case any longer. But I really fell in love with the Salesforce product and platform. And when I found out that they were going to be building industry products, I basically called everybody that I knew at Salesforce. So I had done a good job of networking and getting to know folks. I am having some trouble here. Let's see if this works. Alexis, I might call an audible and have you present for some reason. I don't know if you guys can see what's happening on my side, but my slide's having trouble loading. So why don't I do that? Why don't, if we could maybe switch to Alexis, you presenting?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So anyway, I was saying that, you know, the ability to engage and kind of talk with you guys is so critical to us, because the last thing that we want to do is build our products in a vacuum. So the fact that this group is here and investing their time is just absolutely incredible. So thank you for having me with you here today. Okay, we're going to start on the safe harbor slide, because I am going to be talking about roadmap here today. And I would not be a good product person if I didn't just take a second to say that, you know, obviously you have to make your decisions based on what we have today, because our roadmap changes sometimes. And I'll do my best as we're going through to give you a little bit of context around when you can expect certain things. Okay, let's hit the next one. I'm going to do a very, very quick run through of our point of view on insurance. I'm not going to hang here a lot for a lot of time. I think that sometimes this is kind of the more fluffy side of our presentations, but it does give you some insight into what we're hearing from the marketplace and kind of how we're thinking about things. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to get into more of the product related kind of features and what's coming soon. So we always start by talking about the fourth industrial revolution. And for those of you that have sat through any Salesforce presentation, you for sure have seen that safe harbor slide, but you've probably also seen some slides and heard us talk about the fourth industrial revolution. So Mark talks about this as really one of those kind of pivotal moments in the human existence where technology is changing, and it's ultimately changing how we live our lives. I think what's interesting about this industrial revolution, this fourth one that we're in, is just the pace that things are evolving. So you see here on this slide that this technology that comes with the fourth industrial revolution, it's not something that's out there kind of far off in the future. It's literally here right now. So, you know, IoT and that sort of thing, blockchain we mentioned. I had done a stint working on Salesforce blockchain, and there are incredible things that are going to become possible when you think about blockchain as a conduit, not just for a customer 360 within your company, which is kind of what we're all struggling and striving to get toward today, but imagine what the world would look like if you could have a cross-company customer 360. That information could be shared securely and without any sort of tampering that could get involved by any of the parties. So there's just tremendous things happening. Next slide. And so basically, oh, sorry, this one's a little bit of a builder. So basically, you know, we're out there and there's these incredible companies, you see their logos around this slide, that are out there delivering new experiences in this fourth industrial revolution. And I think the word on this slide that is really interesting is the word convenience, because I think that to some extent in financial services and certainly insurance, there's always been kind of an element of trust and transparency that you expect from your insurance carrier or your bank. But do we really expect convenience? We may hope for convenience, but what we expect and what we sometimes end up with is not necessarily convenient at all. Next slide. We'll start talking a little bit about like how does that manifest itself. And so what do we see? We see a lot of emerging companies, these fintechs, that are basically saying, hey, we're going to change that game. And instead of focusing first on the financial instrument itself, we're going to focus on customer experience. Now, oftentimes when I show this slide and folks look at it, you know, in insurance, people are kind of interested by Lemonade. But the other thing that I'll hear a lot is, yeah, but these companies are so small, they don't have scale, Lemonade can't make any money, really. And that might be true, but what's kind of interesting if you think about it is what these folks are really doing is they're setting the playbook for the big companies like Amazon and Google, and not Salesforce, but like companies like ours, right? To really be able to get in there and use this playbook as their way of disrupting. And when they disrupt, they do it at scale. So it's really something to just kind of have in the forefront of our minds. Next slide. Going back to kind of that theme of convenience. So these fintechs and potentially these big tech companies understand convenience and they understand how to deliver convenience. What are customers saying? Well, customers have high expectations for that convenience. So you see some of the stats here on the page. Experience is actually becoming the thing that you're going to make the decision on. It's not, and especially as these are financial instruments, our financial products are becoming more commoditized. This whole idea of experience is really important. And notice that I'm not just talking about experience here on this slide for the end consumer or the policyholder. It's also our agents and our distributors and our intermediaries, whatever we call them, those people that are selling our products on our behalf. They expect convenience as well, and we haven't always provided them with those kind of experiences. Next. Okay, why is it so hard? It's hard because a lot of our infrastructures and our systems look like this. They were built over the course of years, sometimes through acquisition, and they never quite got integrated. Sometimes with organic growth, you want to be speedy and get to market. And so you're not necessarily thinking about, you know, the experience. You're thinking about how best do I kind of jam this new product into my admin engine or my record keeping system, and then that becomes the thing we bring out to the world. So there's a lot of reasons why this is so difficult for us to kind of get to these convenient experiences. And the next slide. Okay, and another reason why it's hard, right? It would be one thing if we all just had to model and kind of represent a customer 360 in the midst of all that kind of spaghetti mess that I just showed you on the other slide, if we had one customer. But many of you in your organizations don't just have one type of customer that you need to figure out this 360-degree view. Again, the agent or the distributor, the intermediary is your customer. And then there's also one of the things that we're hearing a lot from our customers is even those customers that are relying on intermediary distribution, they're also looking at how do they build out relationships with end consumers, even if sometimes those end consumers are coming to you vis-a-vis an employer relationship. So you might be in retirement, group benefits, workers' compensation, you know, MedPro is certainly an example of one of those. So there's lots of different types of customers to ultimately model. Next slide. And another reason why it's hard, and then I promise I'll stop talking about all of our pain, is that assembling this customer 360 is not as easy as just configuring a screen in Salesforce, right? I mean, that's certainly part of it, and we try to make it as easy as possible, but there's a lot of other things that you have to be thoughtful about in terms of how you assemble your customer 360. So it's not necessarily, you know, just okay, let's have an admin go in an afternoon and configure a screen. There's a lot of thought that needs to go into it. Next slide. Okay, so ultimately, that is kind of what we see, what we're hearing in the marketplace. So what are we doing about it? We're investing at Salesforce in vertical products. So many of you know about the insurance innovation that we're investing in with Financial Services Cloud, but Financial Services Cloud is really our platform for the industry across a very diverse set of customers. The thing that I always try to stress here is that we are built on the Salesforce platform, right? So everything in Financial Services Cloud is embedded with our core, you know, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud capability, and all of the good things in our platform. It's not something that we're going off and building on the side. The second thing that I think is important here is it really creates a new starting point, right? So I think, Alexis, when you were talking earlier, you talked about how everybody uses Salesforce slightly differently, right? And that's true, and we want that. We want to be a platform that you can easily extend and customize and fit the needs of your business. But one of the things that we also know is there are certain elements of customization in Salesforce that every customer does. Every customer has to do certain things. Every customer has to figure out, how am I going to represent a policy? If I'm an insurance customer, how's that going to look, right? So in the past, that was always like, hey, everybody go figure it out for yourself. Well, now with this new starting point, there's some level of commonality that we can create. And so what does that level of commonality kind of buy us, right? Well, it buys us a lot of benefit from when you start trying to look at how you bring other applications and other solutions into the mix. Most customers are using Salesforce because they're using it as a unifying mechanism. But when industry partners or partner, you know, whether it's a customer that's a partner that's building software, or a partner like Silverline that's having to figure out these implementations, everything costs more when everything's a one-off, and they have to figure out how to do this kind of piece by piece, one by one. So ultimately, next slide, what we've done with Financial Services Cloud is we're investing in doing kind of that upfront work to scan all those sources that you see out on the left and ultimately synthesize that into that new starting point that I described. And ultimately what that delivers for you are those things that you see on the right-hand side. You get the best practices. We're not building this just through a single company's lens, right? We're looking at all of customers and that sort of thing to see this. Interoperability, so things can just more naturally work together, a more scalable solution, all that good stuff. Next slide. Okay, and we've had lots of releases, so we're going to keep innovating and keep pumping out new capabilities for you guys, just like the rest of Salesforce. Next slide. And I think we're going to start getting into the meat of it. Awesome. Okay, so we just, with our summer release, announced some new insurance capabilities. And so we're super excited to bring insurance as really a full standing sub-vertical within the financial services product suite. So we've got a few things that, that we've released. The first is this Insurance Console app. And what that does, think of that in my mind, when I think of it as that's the new baseline, right? So when you used to buy Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, you'd have opportunities and cases and accounts and contacts and all that good stuff. Well, when you think about now with the Insurance Console app, what do you have in addition? You have things like policies and coverages and claims that were designed specifically for an insurance agent and or a customer service rep. So kind of our first personas that we tackled were the agent and the CSR. one of the things that you'll see when we start talking about the roadmap a little bit is that we're going to take this idea of that insurance console app that kind of gives the 360, it has the insurance data model, and we're going to start bringing new personas into it. So one of the ones that I'll talk to you about today is what we're calling distribution management. So think about all of the people internal to your organizations, especially if you have intermediary channels that are responsible for understanding and driving activity and business within those independent channels. So that's an example of another persona that's going to be coming into the mix and taking advantage of that new insurance baseline in our console app. Lightning flows. So one of the things that we hear constantly from customers, and it goes back to the new starting point, is how do I facilitate some of these end-to-end business processes using Financial Services Cloud? So for example, if I'm wanting to implement a new way to quote new business, what should that look like? What's the user experience? I have to integrate to like 3 different policy admin systems on the back end, but I don't want that user experience to be different. I want something that's kind of consistent on the front end. So lightning flows are these pre-built templates that we design based upon, specific business process flows. Like the example I gave was a quote. I think that's probably a bad example because our initial release is really more oriented around service. So things like first notice of loss on a claim, or changing a beneficiary on a life insurance policy. They tend to be more service-oriented flows. But think of it as kind of these templated user experience libraries that you can pull from for these very common processes, but you don't have to use them as is. You can extend them and make them your own. So that's really cool. And then finally, we released something called Life Events. And this was it's interesting because I'll be honest with you, I thought that this was like a little nugget, like, oh, this is great because people need a way to start visualizing on the front end, like all of this crazy stuff that we're learning about our customers that's happening. Maybe it's happening in Marketing Cloud, maybe it's happening, in other places. But how do we start bringing all of those key milestones and events really to the surface? So that people can react to them and use them in terms of a transaction. Maybe it's an offer that they want to present, or just building a relationship. So those are really the 3 kind of main components that we deployed with our summer release. Next slide. But we're investing. So that is our promise to you. We're not just, kind of building a product and putting it out there. We have that Salesforce history, tradition, culture of constant innovation. And so we have a very rich and robust roadmap for insurance. So I'm going to kind of just take a minute and go through each of these themes. And then I'm going to go and show you some screenshots from some of these things that we're working on. So that first theme that we're going to hit all the way to the left, where you see like the little people in a circle, that's really, think of it as our console app and the various new business lines and personas that we're going to be supporting in that console app. Like I said, I think the initial release was really, really focused on kind of property, casualty, personal lines. There's some life and annuity stuff in there. But we know that that's not complete. And so commercial lines is going to be a big focus for us in our winter release. We're going to be adding some new elements to the data model that better describe how commercial lines policies are owned and kind of who all the interested parties in those policies might be, and also more of a business risk profile around a commercial insurance customer. So that's coming in winter, which our winter release, and you guys are our Salesforce diehard trailblazers, so you probably know this, but it's always confusing. Our winter 20 release happens in October-ish. Okay, the next theme is this distribution management, or I'm sorry, the next element in our console persona apps is distribution management. So I mentioned this one a few minutes ago. Think of the people in your organization that are responsible for managing relationships with your intermediaries. So what distribution management does is it really creates the producer 360. So to this point, we've been very focused on the end consumer, the end policy holder. We add commercial lines, now we have B2B and B2C. Distribution management really brings one of those new customer 360 elements into the mix. And it's going to be a really important piece for those of you that are managing, especially people that are managing independent distribution. That's going to be really a key capability there. And then finally, from the customer 360 kind of console app perspective, we're going to be working on employer plans. So a lot of our customers ultimately sell first to a company that then has employees of that company enroll or become members, within some sort of employer-sponsored insurance plan. Sometimes it might be, like I said, retirement. It could be group benefits. There's a whole host of kind of different businesses that come into play there. So that's our 360. The next theme is around productivity and process automation. So this is the area that I'm going to show you some screenshots in a minute. So I won't belabor or kind of go through each of these ones here. I'll talk a little bit about it in the other slides. But think about this as our way of taking the things that Lightning Flows do really well and enhancing it to fix, or I shouldn't say fix, that's a bad thing for me to say, but address some of the requirements that our insurance and our financial services customers have that aren't necessarily being addressed by the core teams that are working on this. So it's a lot of productivity, process automation, flow type work. And then analytics, Einstein is kind of our third theme. We're going to have a really, really rich set of Einstein analytics dashboards designed for the agent that is going to come out in winter 19. So I also want to make this distinction. Anything in those first two themes is part of Financial Services Cloud. It's not any sort of add-on, product. The Einstein is. So Einstein, you do have to have the appropriate Einstein licenses to take advantage of these things in Financial Services Cloud. But this is an example of where we're building on some of our ancillary platforms like analytics, not kind of a core Sales Cloud or Service Cloud use case to enhance those offerings specifically for the industry. So those are some of the themes and things we're hitting. Let's go to the next slide so I can show you some of the stuff. We talked a little bit about the Einstein Analytics just now. I think the things to note here, again, is it's all about accelerating that time to value. It's pre-built dashboards. I think there's something like 30 dashboards and 100 different metrics or something like that. It's a lot. The nice thing about it is that you're not limited to what we've built. So you could take those templates that we started, and you can extend them, bring in new data sources and all that good stuff. So it's extendable. Next slide. That's weird. Oh, shoot. I put some other slides in the deck that don't appear to be in this deck. That's really weird. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll, because we're almost out of time, I'm probably not going to. Are you using the same kickoff deck as the shared Google Drive, Alexis? The shared shared slides?
Yeah.
I can see my slides in there.
Maybe refresh your screen. That might help if you haven't refreshed in a little bit. Because I see your slides in here.
You see them?
I see them. Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hang on, let me refresh real quick.
Cool.
This is super cool, Kelly. And working with a lot of insurance companies. It's definitely hitting the nail on the head with a lot of pain points that they've had. And the time to be able to get to value is fantastic. Having those data model points already there, and having pre-built things that they can use and just add, I mean, from an implementation standpoint, saves a ton of time, for sure. And we continually get over and over again questions about, tell me what best practices are, tell me what other people are doing. So I just love this, and the fact that they have a baseline to go for.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So thank you for that feedback, Danielle. And you know, guys, one of the things I'll just say, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, I apologize, but I do have to leave a little bit early. So unfortunately, I'm going to miss your dialogue, but please be very open and honest. So Danielle was just very complimentary, which I love. Bring it. I'll take all of the good stuff, but we also want to hear negative things. Like, I want to hear, why aren't you guys working on this? Like, it's the thing that's the most important thing to me. Or, yeah, that's good, but what about this? So just make sure that you're really open and honest. We want that kind of direct feedback. Okay, so in our productivity theme, I talked about how it's going to be a lot of process automation, a lot of template kind of libraries. So what you see here is what we're calling our application framework. A lot of our customers in insurance, any financial services customer really, selling new business tends to be a lot of collecting data, pre-filling it into forms, getting those forms somewhere for, you know, sign off, but then also forms move a lot in the organization through different front, middle office, back office, and sometimes they need approvals along the way. So the things that I'm going to show you, there's two different features. One is the application framework. The second is what we're calling document facilitation. But what this is doing is it's taking flows, it's improving some flows where our customers were telling us there were gaps. So if you think about your process for filling out an application, you want it to be very easy for the user. It can be like a wizard, and you know, maybe if there's there's a lot of data that needs to happen on the same screen of the same type of information. So you're entering like assets that you have on a claim, and you're just going through and entering and through and entering. The flows out of the box don't really create kind of the seamless user experience that our customers were demanding when it's not just a quick service interaction, right? Flows are very good at like, oh, you lost a credit card, boom, 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 now your credit card is replaced. But gathering application data can be a more drawn out process, and it also can have a lot of different kind of sections. Like, I'm going to gather information about your personal life, then I'm going to gather information about your business life, then I'm going to get, so on and so forth. So this application framework is really the toolbox that you'll be able to use to create more streamlined kind of flows for purposes of capturing application information. Next slide. So the things that we're building here, that guided action list on the side, there's some custom components that we're building that will allow you to kind of do some of that repetitive data entry in a much more user-friendly fashion. The next slide is going to talk about our document facilitation. So this is where, so let's say we just are going through a new business process, and now we have 5 PDFs that have been docu-signed, or they're back, and now we need to send them through some business process. So this document facilitation will allow either an end consumer, an agent, or one of your employees to upload documents into a template. And I think of it as a checklist. So for example, if you were quoting some new workers' comp line, you would have a checklist that says, these are the 5 documents that are always required when we're opening this type of account or quoting this type of policy. So it'll understand what's needed, and then it'll allow you to upload each of those documents in that context. The next slide will go through the process of submitting for an approval, and then the following slide goes through the process of the approval itself. And so there's think of it as basically being able to orchestrate these documents throughout many departments in your organization and have that kind of audit trail, history, approvals, and that sort of thing right out of the box. And this should make the admin's life much easier. So it still takes admins to build this stuff, but just almost think of it as we've given you a more advanced toolbox to do it within. Because you could do a lot. You could say like, oh, well, I could build these things with, you know, Salesforce workflow and approvals. And again, yeah, you could, but it's like what Danielle said. It's all about that speed to market. And it's all about that taking the commoditized stuff that, guess what, everybody has to do. This is not going to be your secret sauce. Taking that and making it really, really, really easy. So I apologize, but I do have to excuse myself from this now. I hope that this was really helpful. I'm available. I'd love to engage you guys more if needed. So please don't hesitate to reach out, LinkedIn, wherever. And I'll look forward to working with you guys in the future. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Kelly. And we'll make sure that you get the recording of this so everyone can give all their feedback, and we'll make sure that you can listen to it and invite you into the chatter groups and things as well. So thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right, so now that Kelly's given that great walkthrough of the roadmap, we wanted to dive into some conversation. So what we'd like to do here is just keep this as an open forum, right, rather than a webinar. So please, if you have a question, just feel free to unmute yourself. And before you share your question, if you could share your name, please, and where you're from, and then let's dive in. So we've got about, it looks like we may run over by a few minutes for the swag, but let's take 10 minutes to dive into this. Another piece also is we are more than open to having additional meetings. So we'll probably only have guest speakers once a quarter, but we could meet next month for sure to have additional conversation if people have ideas. So we want to know what you guys are hoping to get out of this group. But so let's spend the next 2 to 3 minutes on this first question. Would love to hear feedback from you guys. What about this roadmap that you just saw most excites you, and what do you feel is missing?
In chats here as well. Nicole, I do see your question. I will make sure that that gets answered out on the chatter group in regards to when the B2B data model will be released, if it'll be sooner in the sandbox in October or not.
So feel free, if anyone wants to just unmute and just share your name, where you're from. If you could share, what are you excited about with what you just saw? What do you think is missing?
Hey guys, this is Rob Powell from Salesforce. We do have another question from Mark Reese. His question is, how do other independent agents get their nightly downloads from Ivans to all their different carriers? Do you use a third-party vendor, or is there a way to get downloads from each carrier without a third-party app?
Does anyone else out in the community use Ivans?
Hi, this is Kim Bryant from Good to Go. I'm the Salesforce admin. We currently have downloads coming into our Salesforce using Tech Canary app which links us with our Ivans. So we're getting it from all of our carriers. But that's again through a third-party app.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Great to meet you.
You too.
Mark, I hope that answered your question. And I can also make sure that these questions go get put out into the chatter group as well.
Yeah, hi, this is Mark, an agent in Salt Lake City. And yeah, that did answer it. I also use Tech Canary. I know they were recently purchased by Applied Systems, and they are no longer offering some of their products because they now want you to get Applied System products. And we're having a little bit of pushback on a couple of things we asked them for. So I was wondering if there was another way to get downloads from each carrier into Salesforce, either through Ivans in a third party or just through Ivans or some other way, where I didn't have to rely so much on Tech Canary. That was really kind of the basis of my question. I'm finding Salesforce to deliver everything they've promised. I've only been there a little under a year, and it's been amazingly positive. But the third-party vendors that say that they can do certain things have usually oversold me on their true capabilities. So I'm really trying to, I guess, customize the Salesforce platform as best I can, and eliminate some of these other third-party apps that are over-promising and under-delivering. So at any rate, if somebody had an idea of how you might get downloads and not have to go through some of those, that'd be great. There may not be a way, but that was my question. So thanks for your input.
Good question.
Yes, thank you. I will take it personally to go back and do a little bit of research on that for you, and see if I can. I did recently hear of the Tech Canary acquisition, and it's putting a lot of people into a little bit of a pickle, if you will. So I will definitely get some information to you on that one. And I also will say I totally feel your pain on, some of the vendors potentially overselling certain things, or you assuming that a capability is there that might not be there as strongly as you had anticipated. I have definitely ran into that with some of my own clients that I've had in the past. And I think it's, a product of people trying to get to where they need to be. And we're a little bit behind the ball when it comes to FinServ in this technology world. And so it's going to kind of be a little bit bumpy, I think, for the next year or two. But hopefully, I definitely see things improving for sure. So I would say that definitely goes to number 2 in the challenges you're currently facing in the insurance organizations is just trying to figure out how to take some of these old systems and get them up and going and put them on brand new technology that might not be 100% vetted out yet. So.
So let's dive into that. So let's just make it open. We've got a few minutes left to any of these questions. So would anyone like to share what challenges you're currently facing or how you've leveraged the Salesforce platform? Let's spend a couple minutes on that, and then we really want to hear what you're hoping to get from this group.
This is Palmi Singh from HIP10. And I'm with Heather, who also had a similar challenge or question in the chat. But one of the things that we see is a lot of people are already on Sales Cloud. And so there's always, they've done a bit of customization to meet their needs at the moment. And now, obviously, FSC has all these great features and are meeting the actual needs of insurance without having to build it. So one of the pushbacks we get is, having to move over in a way to kind of transitioning that platform. How have you all looked to navigate that conversation, I guess?
I have quite a few clients who are kind of in that predicament, right? They've been on Salesforce for a lot of years, and now that FSC is coming into the mix, and they have a data model that just came out, it's, hey, how do we take advantage of this? And I think it's a case-by-case basis. And just trying to figure out what the business value is, the type of data that you have. Obviously there's costs and things that are involved with it as well. But I'd be happy to talk to you a little bit more offline about some of that. But it is definitely a big issue right now across all of the different Salesforce people who've been in using the platform for some insurance companies that I know 10, 12, 15 years. And they built all of these things out, and now they're like, well, how can I go back? I don't know how that's going to work. So.
Yeah, and I can say for MedPro Group, we started off with Sales and Service Cloud, and we actually transitioned over to Financial Services Cloud. And while it's not rolled out yet, that was part of the sell of, well, there's not a lot for insurance yet, so why should we transition over? And the promise of things to come, and it has been, as Silverline can attest, a bit of a transition of, okay, it's coming, but we may not know when or what that's going to look like. So how much of it do we build and customize on our own now because we have to have this within the next year, versus how much do we wait and see what we're going to get out of the box from this when it comes. So it's that's something that we're continuously looking on a case-by-case basis. I'd love to hear any other customers who are facing that. Anyone else on the line?
Hi, this is Nicole from Caring Communities. Right now, we just started our implementation of Salesforce, and I'm waiting for the B2B module. I mentioned that in my comment in the chat, but it's really difficult to plan on what we're going to be releasing, at least on our end, for our first test runs, because without that actual product coming out, it's almost like a waste of our time to be working with the partner right now and building out all these things when we're waiting for this release, because all of these customizations, it's just, it's very challenging. I really feel that pain right now.
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, thank you for your feedback. Not wonderful, bad.
No, I understand.
And again, Kelly's going to read some of this. We'll make sure that we go back to her, and if there's any feedback that we can get from her that we can post out on the chatter group, we'll make sure that we get that done as well. So we got a couple minutes left. Do we want to skip to the last question of what they want to get out of this group specifically, Alexis? And then we can give our swag away, because it wouldn't be a Salesforce event if we didn't do swag.
That's right. All right. So yes, we would love to hear from you guys. What are you hoping for this to be like, right? This was with this being the kickoff, we had, we thought it would be most enticing for people to hear the roadmap and what's coming. So it was a bit longer of a presentation than we may always have, but what would you guys like this group to be? How do you want to engage? What does that look like? What are some topics that you're interested in? Please share with us. We want this to be what everyone's looking for, not just what's in our mind, what we think would work. So let's go there for a couple minutes.
We're here for you guys.
This is Pommy again. I would love to just see more specific use cases, just how, various business lines, how they're using Salesforce, whether they're doing broker management or policy management or creating portals for their customers or brokers, whoever, just kind of diving deeper into how people are using Salesforce for insurance. Just going in deep.
Great. That's a great idea. Yeah, we could absolutely have a session that's just on, we could post a chatter of, hey guys, share with us some use cases that everyone's using, and then we could have a group discussion around just some of those use cases that everyone brings to the table. That's a really great idea. Thank you.
We've got a couple of chats here. Love to see more about best practices pertaining to the insurance console. Thank you so much for that information, Nicole. Looks like people are wanting monthly calls potentially. So yeah, if we can get the content in and around and people wanting to participate, I'm happy to do that. Sub gatherings at Dreamforce, World Tour, etc. So yep, thank you so much for your suggestions, Heather. And then it looks like we're new to Salesforce, looking to see how other people are using Salesforce, what they've created, what their experience has been, etc. So thank you, Lindsay, for all of that. Definitely best practices look like a thing. I know we're at the top of the hour. Do we want to go ahead and do our quick swag giveaway? So for the first 3 people who go and just tweet about this in general, what's something that you liked about it, that you attended today? We're going to give swag away to the first 3 people. and we'll actually mail it to you. So you have to hashtag Salesforce for insurance, and then @mention Salesforce Trailblazer in insurance. As long as you have all of those criteria in, I will be reaching out to you. I'm going to go look at it here in a couple of minutes, and I will reach out to the first 3 people that have all that criteria, and direct message you, and you'll get some cool swag. We've got stickers, we've got t-shirts, we've got hats, all sorts of fun stuff. So awesome. Make sure you go ahead and do that. And then next meeting's coming up. So everyone seems as though that they're really wanting to meet. InsurTech Connect is coming up in Las Vegas here. I think it's September 23rd through the 25th. Salesforce is a title sponsor of that. And I know that a lot of people in the industry are going to that particular event. I believe that I will be there and would love to host some sort of networking group. So be on the lookout for information on that. And then as Kelly had mentioned earlier, they've got Einstein Analytics for Insurance coming out. There's going to be a couple of really cool new releases that are coming out at the end of September to be announced, and we will have her talk about that. And I think that's going to be October 1st. And yep, Heather, we went back to the swag slide for you.
All right, and so be on the lookout. We'll schedule a follow-up discussion call for those interested. I know we didn't have a lot of time to go through those questions, so we'll schedule follow-up in the next few weeks for those interested, and so we can dive into some more great conversation. But thank you so much for your time and for just being part of this group and engaging. We're really looking forward to meeting you all and having more conversation with each of you.
Yeah, and I echo Alexis. Thanks again. I know that we're a couple minutes over, but we're really excited to be here. I'm super excited to get to know all of you a little bit better and to facilitate some really amazing conversations. So have a fantastic weekend or week. I guess it's only Tuesday, so week, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, all.